because, well, as far as the press is concerned, I believe the British press is owned by 5 companies, headed up by 5 corporate barons, as I would call them, who have an interest, a special interest, apart from anything else, in making profits. The BBC is supposed to be balanced, but I don't find it balanced.
Do you trust the mainstream media, the news and the BBC, etc.?
I trust them a lot, yeah. I trust them to put over the views of those who have power and influence in our society, and to denigrate those that are trying to change things. So I think generally they're pretty trustworthy.
Normally I watch the German news, and it's not, they just show you what you meant to see.
You know, I have to tell you, in England, I think all the newspapers are the same and all the TV channels are the same. We don't have this. We don't have them arguing with each other. They call themselves left and right, but they're all the same. So in Argentina, you really have a difference.
Yes, and sometimes we can advise. Each newspaper has different political ideas, and in the titles and in the content of that newspapers, we can know that. It's really simple to see that.
9/11 is a bit fishy. What else was there? The story about Princess Di, her whole incident and the follow-up and stuff. And recently about, is it Kate Winslet? The whole thing with her miscarriage and that pretending to be a prank joke to the midwife and she committing suicide. I think that there's a gap. There's gaps missing in that story as well that I think the public would like to know about.
It made no sense. The nurse committed suicide.
Yeah, she has 3 kids. She's married. You know, she has a lovely job. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and when people hear the truth, they want the truth, but it's the thing, can they handle it? And then it's dealing with it after they've heard it, and then the outcome.
We would have a mass nervous breakdown, the whole society.
Yeah, I'm like the percentage of a breakdown are high, because it would just more turn into anarchy. Because the amount of years have gone by of hearing what the government's told us, and it's turned out not to be 100% true, it puts you in a position to believe basically nothing they say anymore.
Do you trust the mainstream news and the media, what you hear and see there?
No. In short.
Do you trust what you hear on the BBC, etc.?
Generally speaking, no. No, I don't.
Can you think of an example of news that you didn't trust, that you heard?
Sure, all the time. I mean, I guess the most obvious example for me is the reporting of the rebellions in Tottenham and then around the UK just after the execution of Mark Duggan. It was kind of quite a useful example of the total unreliability of mainstream media reporting. Generally speaking, I don't trust mainstream media, no, just because based on my experience, it doesn't really tally with what I see going on around me.
Do you trust what you hear on the main news, on the mainstream media?
No.
How do you get your news?
I read, and I do watch the news and watch all sorts of news and talk to people and read handouts by Newsline and various things.
Can you think of an example of where they really lied about the news?
I think about the NHS at the moment, what's happening with closing the hospitals, with Lewisham and all the rest of it. We'll no doubt find out that they're going to close. They say they're not going to close the A&E down or reduce it, but what they'll do is they'll starve it of money, and it will disappear, I think.
So they're lying through their teeth?
Yes.
I think it's vital that people create their own media, talk to people, create meetings, distribute leaflets, newsletters, pamphlets, social media, websites. Basically, we need to be communicating with each other about what are the issues and what we want to do to change things.
Do you trust the mainstream media, like the BBC and the news?
No, obviously these are just tools used to help the propaganda of the Western governments to push their agendas and to push their policies. Obviously you can see, for example, the issue of the Iraq war. and what happened in Afghanistan. These could not have been obviously pushed forward by the governments alone. Rather, the media created this hysteria amongst the masses to create this phenomena that enabled the governments to send their forces in to kill innocent men, women and children.
Okay, so do you trust the mainstream news like you see on the BBC, etc.?
Yes, I do.
What, you think they're just telling the truth only?
I think they're telling as much of the truth as they know, yes.
Do you have any reason, vested interest in showing loyalty to them?
Well, I don't really, but yeah, I do work for the BBC, so you might think I'm biased. I suppose I might know more.
Indeed you might. Are you familiar with the news department?
I have worked in news before, yeah.
I see, and you think they're doing a grand, honest job?
I think they're doing the best they can, yeah.
At the moment, I'm a casual journalist in the newsroom.
Do you feel that the BBC is portraying the news in a fair and balanced manner?
Let's not go there. I can't ask those sorts of questions.
I think it's just not joined up. The BBC at senior management level is totally dysfunctional. There's nobody who has authority, there's nobody who makes decisions, different departments go their own way, won't talk to each other. It's not well run at the top. We, at the level of the journalists and the producers making the programmes, know what we're doing. At the top of the BBC, you could get rid of swathes of people who will make no difference whatsoever to the output.
Is the news sometimes fabricated?
No, but the government makes it up. We just report it.
And do you feel that sometimes there's too much spin in the news?
I think so, yeah. I don't believe that they always show what is actually true out there. So they try to fabricate it the way that it suits them.
The government uses the media as a tool to obviously spread their propaganda and their lies against Islam and the Muslims, to obviously promote their own ideas and values. Just look to places like in Africa at the moment. Places like Mali, Algeria, all of these, where they, as the Western government, show themselves or portray themselves as being the knights in shining armor, when we know ourselves on the ground that these are actually terrorizing the innocent people. They're killing men, women and children in their own home countries and making Africa a new base for their own agendas and their own propaganda.